Test. Perfect. Welcome to Lunch with Lumbermen. We're waiting for Matt to enter the room here, hopefully. I know he's remote, so we're going to see if he can sign in. I'm going to try to bring up a few things while we're talking. Again, this is Materials Exchange, mxlumber.com. We're the first, the only B2B digital exchange in the lumber building materials industry where you can come on, bid, offer, bid to your location, offer from your location. The logistics is put in it. You buy one price delivered, sell one price FOB your location. We match the orders, we move the money, we deliver the goods. About 180 items up today, everything from southern yellow pine, plywood, OSB. Um, Please say where you're from. There's Jeff Yoder. Hey, Lumberman. Hey, how you doing, Jeff? Good to see you. I'm trying to bring up my live screen here so I can actually talk back and forth to you all. There we go. All right, like I said, we are waiting for Matt Lehman to enter the room, and then we will get going from there. Yeah, by all means, please say hello, where you're from. Nashville, Scott, great to have you. I'm just trying to pull the live stream up here on my system. Greetings from New Hampshire. Good to see you, Paul. What we're going to do, Matt and I are going to talk a little bit about both his reports that he puts out, the one he put out Monday, January 31st, Thursday, February 3rd, and talk a little bit about what's going on in lumber, what we see as far as trends, what we see as far as potential coming up. A little bad weather across the Midwest this week slows some things down. Had a good conversation with some people on trucking. A little bottleneck on that if it wasn't already bad enough. We will try to contact Matt and see if he is getting on here. Hey, Nick, you want to bring up this first composite chart? Brent from Minneapolis, good to see you. Rick, Omaha, cold today. Good to see you, Rick, in here. We're going to bring up one of Matt's 2x4 charts first, talk about it, kick back. I am just trying to find my comment section, but LinkedIn is not letting me get to it. All right. If you could see, we went into the last 2 weeks of down prints. It looks like Matt was talking about the January, February market rolling over here. I would say that we have two different markets, a futures market that was selling off a little bit and a cash market that still has inventory. Good morning from, or good afternoon from Westfield, Massachusetts, has inventory at the wrong ends of the pipeline. Matt Gregg and I talked yesterday for a long time. There are still people chasing down loads looking for prompt inventory. There's still a lot of inventory at the mill level. As Matt Beamer said yesterday, a lot of these mills wanted to ship this stuff in December and January are still trying to play catch up and do that. Hey, Jeff from Cape Cod, how are you doing? Good to have you on the call. What that leaves is a gap in the pipeline, and there's still good outtake at mills in a lot of places, tough logistics. One of the hard things right now is moving lumber around the country and getting it in a prompt manner to different people, and it's causing a few disruptions. But we noticed this on the OSB market and the panel market last week, where we were shipping, as you said, OSB all the way from crazy locations, Idaho down to Georgia, New Jersey down to Florida, Texas over to Idaho. And that generally happens when there are holes in people's inventory and they can't find it from their traditional buyers and sellers. They match up on here and find it. But I've never seen it this crazy on the logistical side. So although there are great markets going on right now, there's always those tough parts of great markets. Again, good outtake from the last few weeks. So we'll see if that continues. Let's go ahead and take a look at Matt's chart on let's go on to his see if he's got his OSB chart so we can take a look at that. Actually, let's go to the Southern Yellow Pine chart from January 31st, Nick. There we go. This is an interesting chart. Kind of shows the 2x4 number 2. That is still under a little pressure, but I will say there's still a lot of truss plants and facilities taking that. Where we've seen a lot more pine coming on the market is in the wides, and a little bit of 2x6. 4-inch is still kind of hanging in there, although it's a little bit of a soft market. I think the reason that's hanging in there is still because of the use from the truss plants and how far out that those facilities have their have jobs sold. And how far out they're committed on pricing. So here he comes.
Here I am.
Hey, Matt. I was ad-libbing a little bit before you rolled into the show. We were talking about Southern Pine. I have your Southern Pine chart up here on your 4-inch. What's a little bit that you can say on that? My feeling, what I was telling the group was 6-inch I'm seeing show up in pine, and I hear they're trading at deep discounts to print. 8-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch, some of that showing up. 4-inch, yes, there's some showing up, but I'm not seeing a lot of that on list still. I think that's either being done trading, between big counterparties, but I haven't seen as much relief on 4-inch yet. But maybe you have seen it.
No, I haven't seen a lot of volume in anything, and actually, I'm quite surprised that the east side prices are coming off as hard as they have, with as little volume as there is offer. They're just either they're not showing it, or they're pretty aggressive on those price reductions. But I've talked to people that are trying to find 10 truckloads and having to call 4 or 5 people to get them.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I mean, 6 inches a different story. Some other things are a different story, but for sure 4 inches. Let's go back to your first chart on the first page that Nick had up here on just the 2x4 number 2 composite. Um, Matt, rolling over the last few weeks a little bit. Maybe you could explain a little bit the yellow band that we're in there.
Well, that yellow band is the January chaos we've talked about from the
That's it.
beginning of the year. If you could, I think the January chaos is, or chaotic is, a pretty accurate word for what's happened in January. It's a little soft spot here, but we can talk about why that's happened or what's going on. But the important thing is to look and see what's going forward. There's a lot of jobs that have been bought already from builders, multifamily, single family. It's my understanding that most or many of the large tract builders have planned to start their homes, get as many as they can start for the year done by the end of March. I know that's kind of aggressive, but that's what they're saying. And if that's the case, then we can expect that there's going to be a little surge in buying here in February that I think is going to top the market off. But if the builders are doing what they say they're doing, which is getting starts in the ground, footings in the ground and framing up by the end of March, then we're going to see a big lull in mill orders flow coming after March, and it's going to be. I think we're going to have an early March peak in the market, and then we'll be in a bear market for into the summer.
Yeah, it was interesting. We were talking yesterday with Greg and Matt Beamer about where the inventory is at right now, because a lot of pricing is related to where the inventory is in the pipeline, right? And I think a lot of that wood in BC and some of the areas out west still is sold, and these guys want it out, but it was slow shipping, right? And then you talk about
it's all sold. Yeah,
yeah. And then you talk about
I don't think the field inventories from the dealers is speculatively heavy.
Right. I agree, and I think the calls that I hear people getting on trucks that are 2 or 3 weeks late. Some of these vessels were late coming in, so a lot of people have wood they've bought and they need it, and they're following up on trucks, and then trucking gets tight. We've got this weather in the Midwest now. Holding up, heck, it goes all the way down south. I think in a lot of cases, some of this bad weather.
I just talked to a guy in Dallas that said it's snowing and icy.
Yeah, and that shuts it down there because that's ice, right? That's a big deal, and that'll.
Here's the interesting thing about that whole weather pattern, Ash. If you look at where it's going, it's not going through the production section of the market. It's going through a consuming section. So the mills in the south and the north should not be affected by this, but the consuming markets from Texas up to DC is where they're going to lose a couple of days worth of business. But next week it's going to be in the 50s and 60s everywhere. So I expect this stuff's going to be gone by the first of next week.
Yeah, no, agreed. We're kind of last push of winter coming through us in the Midwest up here. So where are you seeing? I was talking to one of the guys on the phone, and he said, "Talk a little bit if you guys can." I know you're mobile, so it's hard to bring up anything. What's the undervalued versus the overvalued right now? What species are the good potential buy? I mean, everything's pretty high price still relative to a historical market, but where are you starting to see value show up at?
I don't think if you're looking for value, there's not any. And even if you look at the futures market, it's up $90 in 2 days. There's no value there. If you think about where the builders started buying back in November, December last year, these guys own wood for their projects at $800 and less. So there's no value in the market for no bargains right now. You're just playing. It's just to fill in the holes and fill in the gaps kind of thing. But I don't think there's an opportunity to buy the market speculatively right here for any long-term play.
Yeah, one thing, and we've been talking about this in the last show, that OSB market has been something, and we talked about it yesterday. I mean, look at OSB is sold by about 5 big producers, and there's the contract and the spot market, right? Last year when we moved up in the first quarter, the contract lagged that spot market so much at one point on a 7/16 basis, that spot market was $400 above the contract market, right? And
yeah, that was just I hate to say if there's any producers or anybody listening that did this, but that was just a plain out gouge. That was
but it's interesting. I'm talking to people they said they're getting less contracts now, or their allocations are less. Does that make sense? Or maybe I've heard them
Yeah,
wrong.
and
They're getting
I think
shipped
here's what's happening,
less
Ash.
than they thought they were
I
done.
think the mills are waiting. I think the mills been waiting for the boxes to come in and load up on bigger contracts, and they're not doing it. Same thing with treated lumber. They're not loading up the treated lumber like they did last year. So this, I think the the outtake from the big boxes, Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, guys like that, their expectation is less, and it's turning out to be a disappointment for the producers, the treaters, the OSB suppliers, the OSB mills that are expected to get bigger contracts. I think there's going to be less coming, and they're kind of sitting there waiting for it to happen. I don't think it's coming.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, we're moving. It's been very fluid on the OSB. That's been one of the biggest items moving on all the thicknesses, the TNGs, and everything on our platform. And it's moving all over the place because, some contracts that don't have as much business are taking advantage of selling them into the spot market, right? And
Yep.
and that makes absolute sense. One thing we haven't brought up in a while, if you don't, the framing package again, is that cool?
Yeah, that thing's ridiculous. We're almost back to the high. If you look at the price per square foot, we're like $31 a square foot, and our high was like 36 back in May of last year. We're almost back to the highs of where we were at the peak of the market, and there is price rejection from builders, from um, developers. Retail lumber yards are not taking wood because people are just afraid. There's a sense of apprehension in the marketplace right now that something's just not right. It's just that these prices are too high, too early, and there's not a lot of volume out there. But it's just there's a growing apprehension in the market that things are going to peel off at least in the second half. And, and to me, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. When a builder tells you that they're going to try to get everything framed in the first quarter because they want to spend the rest of their just the year um, on completions, and they ended up last year with like 400,000 extra uncompleted houses based on starts. We're getting a big pile of completions that are coming. They're going to be coming to the market I think from Q2 to Q4, the whole housing data is going to start to reverse. We're going to see more completions than we do starts, and it's going to create the illusion of a housing recession, just because the numbers get inverted. But it's actually just the builders are just catching up because they need to convert these incompleted houses into cash, get
Yeah,
them
no, it's
closed.
crazy. I'm just looking at this. I haven't looked at this framing package composite for a couple of weeks, actually for probably a month or so, because we weren't really looking at it. But now you're right. We're darn near back to where we were last year on some of these prices,
Yeah,
right?
we're double, triple, well, almost tripled from 3 months ago.
Yeah, that's insane. So where are you at today?
I'm sitting outside of Bank of America in Blowing Rock, North Carolina, in the pouring rain. I was trying to
Gotcha.
get some banking stuff done, and I looked at the clock, and I thought I was an hour behind where I was. So I apologize for the delay.
No, no, you're good. You're good. Anything else you wanted to chat about? Otherwise, we'll just make it a short one today.
I think just short term, we got to look at the market shifting from January chaos into the February fills. What I'm calling that, where everybody's just kind of a mad dash to fill in their last little bit of stuff. But when you look forward from where we are today, spring's 30 days closer. Granted, we got some nasty weather winter going right now, but I like the old Farmer's Almanac for my weather predictions, and they say that we're going to be drier in the bottom half of the United States, drier and warmer, and then the producing regions of the Pacific Northwest is going to be colder and wetter. So I think we could expect to see some supply disruptions out of the British Columbia and some of the hem fir markets. But out of the South, it's going to be wide open. There's going to be plenty of lumber, and we're probably going to see that premium that we've noticed, a couple $100 premium of Southern Pine over everything else, get washed away, and prices get more back in line and equilibrium with SPF and Southern Pine kind of delivering. If you take an Atlanta basis, for example, we'll probably start to see those prices of spruce and pine start to be delivered in the South pretty much on par with each other.
Right on, right on. Well, look at if you want to get more of Matt's Matt's guide, go to Layman's Lumber Guide. Matt makes you take it. It's Matt at laymansguide.com. I think he makes you take it for free for a couple months. Does that make sense, man?
Yeah, just click any link on there. If it says whatever the link says, it's gonna take you to a 2-month free trial page. So I'd love to have you guys join it, take a look at it. And just to look back and see what the last week, I missed the October dip. I thought we were going to dip on there, but then we nailed the week 44, 45 FTP where the market rose. We projected the January chaos little lull right here, and the long range forecast was an up market from week 45 to week number 10. So I'm looking for a 6-week rally right now. And if you're looking for something if you're not covered by then, you certainly don't want to be buying this market 4 to 6 weeks from now because you could potentially be buying it at the top. So just plan your strategy around that.
Appreciate it, Matt. I'll let you get back to your banking. Come to mxlumber.com if you want to be part of the digital B2B transparent lumber solution. And as Matt gave you his layman's lumber guide, we put it up there in the comments there. We'll move on and we'll look forward to talking to you next Thursday, Matt.
Great. Have a great day. Thank y'all for
All right.
coming.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.